Hey Pyros, 𝗬𝗵𝗲 here at Elite. Guys, in today's video, it is all about preloaded shells. Now, we do also like to call them night shells here at Elite Fireworks, but basically, just like the name says it, a preloaded shell, you're gonna have a shell inside, it's already loaded, unlike the reloadable ones where you have to do the work manually. The ball is already inside the tube. You just basically light it kind of like a cake. As you can see here, you rip this out, the green fuse is exposed, you move back, you light it, and it goes up in the air. So basically, they are a hybrid. They are a little bit kind of like a reloadable shell, but they are shot like a cake because you have the fuse on the side and you light it up. Now, before we get started on this, let me know in the comments below, are you a fan of preloaded shells? My number one reason why they are not worth it is that when compared to other categories such as reloadable shells or aerial cakes, it's just not worth the money. As an example right here, I got the smallest items on each category, but when you compare them, honestly, the cost per shot is significantly higher when it comes to preloaded shells. So as an example right here for the preloaded category, green stars to crackling #5 brothers preloaded shell. This one is under $9. Now, next to it, we got the festival ball with brocade tails. Now, this one is around $12 here at Elite, but you are getting 6 reloadable shots. And between the #5 and the festival ball, typically, there's not gonna be a huge size difference on these. Obviously, the preloaded one, this one specifically, it's a little bit bigger, but beside my point, I'm comparing the festival ball, which typically when it comes to reloadable shells, the festival balls are the second to worst because the only thing that's worse is the mini mags, the mini artilleries. The point is, per dollar, you're gonna spend so much more when it comes to preloaded shells versus reloadable shells. Now, right here next to it, I got one of our new cakes. So this is 𝗬𝗱𝗂𝘀𝘁. Now with this one, it is actually gonna be 16 shots. It's pretty big shots. These are 1-inch tubes. So you're getting 16 1-inch tubes. Going back to the same reason, when compared to number of shots per dollar, this is a way better deal. This is under $20 for one, but of course, if you buy it with a box kit, the prices do get significantly better. But per shot per dollar, significantly cheaper. And when it comes to preloaded shells, typically, they are the highest ticket item beside NOABs. Typically, when it comes to the 9 on the board cakes, of course, those are going to be much more expensive, but you are getting up to 2.25 inch tube size, which is the largest when it comes to consumer fireworks. My second reason is that there's a lot of marketing gimmicks when it comes to preloaded shells. I wish I had more options, but right now, these are the only ones that we have in store. But typically, when it comes to the very large preloaded shells, absolutely stay away from those. The reason why I say that, there's a lot of marketing gimmicks, and you might have seen it, but a lot of brands do have it where it might say that made in the USA or assembled in the USA. Well, you're paying hefty price because that is actually true. Part of it, what typically happens with those, the actual fireworks, they bring them directly from China, just like any other category, but they'll put a big tube, they'll assemble a big tube so that visually it might look like, wow, you're getting one huge mega shot, but in reality, it's a bunch of small shots similar to a cake. If you're to get 500-gram cakes, you definitely will have much better show, and they're gonna be a lot more cost efficient. Plus, you don't have to play the marketing gimmicks. You really have to stay away from those because typically when it comes to the large ones, that's always the case, and I wish we had them in store so I can actually show them, but unfortunately at this moment, because it's after the 4th of July, these are the only ones that have come in at this time, but of course, we will get some more. My next reason is, especially for those of you who do like to create fireworks shows, such as pyro musicals, or even grand shows for your 4th of July or New Year's holiday season, typically, you never go with preloaded shells for that. And the reason for it, I feel like they just don't serve the purpose properly. You know, whenever you're shooting, let's say you want to have a grand finale, right? You can have a case of hydro bombs. And then, of course, if you want to have a great finale, you don't shoot them on the actual fiberglass tubes. You'd actually go ahead and purchase a rack and so on, right? So when it comes to reloadable shells, you are actually going to have the actual shell, put it inside of a rack, and you can have a massive finale. And whereas with cakes, as an example, they do serve their purpose, because with cakes you are able to get some very unique multi-levels effects and so on that typically that you do not get when it comes to reloadable shells. But for instance, when it comes to preloaded shells, sure, they do the same job basically as reloadable shells, but the problem with it, if you want to shoot, let's say, 72 shots of preloaded shells, this is not more safe than actually shooting 72 reloadable shells, because after all, at least with the reloadable shells, you can buy the proper tools and actually shoot them on HDPE racks, and it's a lot safer, it's a lot more efficient. It's a win-win in all areas, from cost to better effects, and of course, much more safe. So I feel like they don't really serve the purpose really well compared to other categories when it comes to aerial fireworks. Now, one thing that preloaded shells have an advantage compared to reloadable shells is that they are launched like an aerial cake. And the reason why I mention this as an advantage is that, to be honest with you, I do not see reloadable shells being there forever, because if you were to look at regulation on different countries on fireworks, sure, there's many countries that allow more than 500 grams limit when it comes to aerial cakes, but they do not have reloadable shells for consumers. Obviously, the reason for it, it's safety. So that's one thing that preloaded shells do have that's an advantage compared to reloadable shells. And I think with the change in technology, especially that's happening right now with preloaded shells, they are gonna be here to stay and they are gonna get better. But I think whether that's gonna be a year from today or 10 years from today or 30 years from now, I think preloaded shells are gonna be a bigger factor in the US consumer fireworks industry than many of us could expect. That's a whole nother video for another day. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below, are you a fan of preloaded shells? And of course, between, I mean, this is not a comparison, but I guess I'll say it, between preloaded shells, reloadable shells, or aerial cakes, which one is your favorite? Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you in another video right here on our channel. Bye-bye.